Access to Democracy is made possible by donations from the following organizations. Thomson Reuters, a global company with expertise and insight to unravel complex situations in the areas of law, tax, compliance, government, and media. Their worldwide network of journalists and editors keep customers up to speed on relevant global events. Thomson Reuters, The Answer Company. Crutchfield Dermatology, a full-service treatment center and medi-spa in Eagan. Their goal is to help you look good and feel great with beautiful skin. With service built around courtesy, dignity, and respect, Mayo-trained Dr. Charles Crutchfield personally treats each patient and is acknowledged as one of the nation's best physicians. The Minnesota Twins are looking forward to another great season in 2023, led by the return of All-Stars Carlos Correa and Brian Buxton. With the return of numerous players who were injured in 2022 and some new acquisitions, another division crown and a return to the World Series are in their sights. Established in 2007, 45th Parallel Spirits was among the first 50 micro-distilleries in the United States. Based in New Richmond, Wisconsin, all aspects of production occur at our facility. If you're interested in visiting and learning more about the 45th Parallel Distillery, please check our website and plan a visit to tour our facility and taste our spirits. Truestone Financial, with locations in Minnesota and Wisconsin, has proudly served its members since 1939. Truestone engages, educates, and supports its members to ensure they have the tools to empower their financial well-being. Truestone Financial, your neighborhood credit union. Learn more at truestone.org.
Hello and welcome to another edition of Access to Democracy. I'm your host, Steve Francisco. It's my pleasure to welcome to our studio today a first-time guest. Tami Phillippi is a small business owner, the owner of Frame, Minnesota, right here in Eagan, and she's also the president of the Eagan Rotary Club. Tami, welcome to Access to Democracy.
Thank you very much. Happy to be here.
So, since you're a new guest on our show, tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you from? Where did you grow up and go to school?
I grew up in St. Paul. I went to Durham Hall High School, and then I went to college at the University of Minnesota in Duluth.
Mm-hmm. And you had an interest in arts and photography going back to your childhood. Tell us about what sparked that interest in arts and crafts and photography.
I'm not sure what sparked that interest, but I've always liked to take things apart and put them back together, and I like to make things. And you know, my favorite Christmas gifts were all the little arts projects that you put things together, whether it was a little purse or beads or whatever. I just enjoyed doing that sort of thing.
And didn't you get a camera at some point when you were young?
I got a little Kodak Instamatic camera, I think at about 3rd grade, and I really liked taking pictures. Mm-hmm. Back in those days, you know, you had like 26 shots or something, and so you had to make it last a while. Mom wasn't going to pay for film processing.
Right, and we're not talking about digital photography. We're talking about when you bought a roll of film and put it in a camera, or later the Polaroid Instamatic cameras.
I think my dad had a Polaroid at that point, but I don't think I was allowed to play with that one.
So what did you enjoy taking photographs of? Particular subjects, or?
I think at that time it was just family stuff, trips and
birthday parties
and Holidays. 4th of Julys and things like that.
So you are the founder and owner of Frame, Minnesota, which is right here in Eagan. Tell us a little bit about your business, how it started, and what you do there.
Well, we're a custom picture framing store. We do everything from just really simple repairs to really pretty outrageous almost construction projects. You know, we do military stuff. We do a lot of sports jerseys. We do diplomas, needleworks. Today there was a guy in, right before I came over here, that I had done some work with him maybe about 6 months ago, and he was really happy with it. And he acquired these 2 windows from I wish I could remember it, the school that he went to in Iowa, where he became a minister, and there were these old-fashioned windows that were taken out of that building, and he wants to hang them in the house somewhere.
Oh, were they stained glass, perhaps?
No, they weren't, but they were like arched with all these mullions and different kinds of smaller pieces of glass. About 100 years old. They're about 45 inches tall. And so he wanted to put mirrors behind them, and we're trying to figure out how to do that. So I don't know, it isn't even really picture framing, but he thought, well, I wonder if Tami could do this. And we talked about it, and I gave him some ideas, and he's going to do some of the work himself, and then I'll probably put some mirrors in and help him figure out a way that we can put them on the wall safely, because they'll weigh about 60 pounds when they're done.
I should tell our viewers, too, my wife Bonnie and I have known you for many years. You have framed most of the artwork in our home.
Yeah, quite a few things.
Most recently, my father's flag from his coffin after he passed away. He was a Korean War veteran. Did a beautiful job on that with bevel glass and a nice, believe it was cherry wood casing.
Yes.
And a plaque for him, too, which is a very special memento to have. So you and your crew there, how many people work with you at Frame, Minnesota?
I have myself and 3 others.
Right.
2 are part-time and 1 is full-time.
Well, I can attest to the fact you do beautiful work.
Oh, thank you.
And
it's always fun to work with you and Bonnie.
Thank you. You're always concerned about first working with the customer and figuring out what is it they want, and how do you do that? How do you get the right matting for a photograph or a piece of art, and how do you choose the right frame so that the customer will be satisfied with it?
How do I do it? Well, we do it a lot of different ways, but the biggest way is to talk to them and listen.
Yep. So let's shift gears, if we could, and talk about your role as president of the Eagan Rotary Club.
Sure.
First of all, Tami, how did you come to the Rotary Club? How did you come to be part of that organization?
Well, when I started my business back in 1995, I had a good friend from college, Scott Swinson, and he had been living in Eagan for a long time. In fact, that's part of the reason that I located in Eagan. My business in Eagan is that my husband was playing softball with Scott and a bunch of other guys in Eagan, and it was a nice community, and we still live in St. Paul, but just barely over the Mendota Heights and West St. Paul border, and it seemed like a great community. Scott at the time was actually out of town in Owatonna for a couple of years, but when I started the business, he recommended that I join Rotary, and he got somebody to sit down and talk to me and get me involved in the club right away. And it was a good thing. It got me out of the shop. It got me involved in the community. At the time I had a 3-year-old, so I didn't have a lot of adult contact outside of the people that I supervised, right? You don't really have a peer group in small business, and so it kind of gave me a little bit of a peer group. And a lot of Rotarians became friends and customers over the years.
That's great. Tell us a little bit more about Rotary Club. What does the Rotary Club do? What is its core mission? Rotary's
really a service club. It's really it's a community organization. It's made up of business people, government, nonprofit people. We've got some members that work for the city from the fire department. We've got some folks from community development for the city, as well as various nonprofits around town and business owners. And really we're there to serve and to try to give back a little bit of our time and talent to the community.
And the motto of the club, as I understand it, it's service above self. So this idea of giving back to the community. I had a different impression of what Rotary was. I was under the misimpression that it was primarily about promoting small businesses such as your own, but it's something much broader than that. It may do that too, but it seems to be much broader. Tell us a little bit about some of the local projects that the Eagan Rotary Club is involved in right now.
Sure. I mean, our next big event, we've got 2 big events coming up in May. The first week of May, on the 6th of May, we have our Live to Give walk at the community center.
Live to Give.
Live to Give, and it's just a fundraising event. We get corporate sponsors. People can come out and walk, get their friends to pledge them a few bucks to walk. We have some food trucks. We have a band coming, and people will come. Some people will come in costume, and we just have a good time. I think it's only 1.25 miles, 1.25 miles or something around there. And I don't think anybody even really cares if you finish the walk. You can bring your dog, you can bring your kids.
Good way to get some fresh air.
Get a little bit of fresh air and get out in the community. And that event is really the event that allows us to raise money to do all of the other things that we do. The next event that we have in May is our Teachers Recognition event. And we have a committee that goes out and contacts all of the schools in Eagan and allows any school that wants to go ahead and nominate a Teacher of the Year. We recognize them at a lunch. That's on May 10th. at the Lusper Golf Course, which is where we meet. We meet about 3 weeks a month at noon on Wednesdays, and then the fourth week we usually do something else. And the doing something else is new this year. So the teachers' recognition, they'll get a plaque and a little gift certificate to help them out with some of those unmet expenses the teachers often have.
And if people want more information about that fundraising event that you just mentioned, they can contact you through...
They can contact me through my business Frame Minnesota, or you can go right on the Eagan
Rotary
website. .org.
So tell us about the couple of projects you have here in Eagan. I see something called the Fire Safety Trailer, the Eagan Rotary Bandshell.
Well, those are some of our bigger projects, and maybe before we go, so we always set aside a portion of our money for the 4 or 5 events that we have every year. We talked about the teachers' recognition.
Right.
We have a big veterans recognition around Veterans Day in November. We do a smaller event to recognize a fire safety officer and a police officer here in Eagan, and they come and have lunch with us, and usually they tell their stories, and there's a little bit of joking around where other members of the fire department come, and that's really fun to recognize those folks, especially with all the things that have been going on in the last several years where they haven't been maybe recognized for such the good things that they do. Last year we recognized an officer that jumped in a lake not once but twice to retrieve a person that was inside of a car and saved 2 people's lives last year. And those stories, we just don't hear them enough. So those are some of the events that we do every year to recognize people in the community. Then we, every few years, we have a major project. We tend to save up a larger amount of money. One of the things we built, the bandshell that's over in Central Park, with some funding from the city, and that's named after our names on the side of it. We had
Eagan Rotary Club Bandshell.
Eagan Rotary Club Bandshell,
in Central Park in
Central Park, and we had some volunteer architect do that. The member of our club did the architectural work on it and that sort of thing.
Just curious, roughly how much did that project cost to complete?
Oh boy, that was a long time ago. I don't know.
But you got some matching money from the city.
We got some money for the city of Eagan. I want to think we put about $250,000 into it. That's a number that kind of sticks in my head.
It's very nice.
About
I've seen it too. Many
yeah.
of our viewers may have been to Central Park, and they perhaps have seen it.
It's a very
as
nice
well.
facility that was kind of meant for smaller gatherings, and and it carries the sound very well. Another project that we did is we bought a fire safety trailer for the fire department. That's probably 15 years old, but it's still in use. They use it to teach kids, the drop, stop, and roll. Stop, drop, and roll. I probably have that backwards, but you know what I mean.
When we have the fire chief on again, we can ask him.
You can ask him how that works. But I've been inside of it, and they can put off some steam that looks like smoke, and they tell the little kids what to do. And I've seen it at community events.
And the trailer can go to community events, go to schools to teach the kids about fire safety.
Like I said, I think it's probably due for a remodel, but they still use it. I don't know if the colors are quite up to date, but it's still a useful project. And then I suppose it's about 6 or 7 years ago now that we gave a large donation to Artworks Eagan to help them get started with the purchase of the facility on Westcott Road, which is not for sale. But
from City Hall, in the old City Hall.
In the old City Hall and the old fire. It was the fire station. Yes.
Right.
And so that was nice to help that group get off the ground. And
right. So I understand Eagan Rotary Club too, you have these community service grants that go to local nonprofits. Some of the groups that you've worked with and have helped here, I understand, include the Open Door Food Pantry to help people dealing with hunger issues in our community. Say a little word about that, if you would, and about some of the other community service grants.
There's two ways that we give community grants right now. The Live to Give walk, when we do that, last fall we picked 3 charities for this year, and I'm going to be on the spot now. It's Treehouse, Peacemakers, and the Ambassadors for the 4th of July. And so they will get some pretty good chunk of money, probably somewhere around $3,000 or $4,000 from this event.
And just so people understand better, what do those groups do?
You could ask me exactly what those groups do. And Treehouse works with youth. In Eagan. I know they get together and they're just positive mental health would be the best way to say
Okay.
it. And Peacemakers goes into the elementary schools and teaches conflict resolution. And of course the 4th of July Ambassadors Program would formerly have been thought of more of a royalty kind of program, but it's transitioned more to a scholarship program for young women to teach them young women and young men to teach them leadership skills, and then they have the potential to earn some scholarships for that.
So one of the things that the Eagan Rotary Club has been involved in historically that caught my interest are these ethics workshops. Say a little bit about what are the ethics workshops that are sponsored by the Eagan Rotary Club, and how do they work?
Well, again, we work with Eagan High School. You see a theme there. We work with Eagan High School a lot. We work with Eagan High School to identify students that would are top performers and considered to be maybe influencers. And we have a day, and they do different exercises where they talk about personal and business ethics. And actually, that was held at Thomson Reuters for many years. And this year, when we resumed after COVID, we did it at the Law Spur. It's a program that was put on at one point by St. Thomas University, and we have actually spread it around to several other Rotary clubs across Minnesota. We had a team of people that were going out, and we'll go into maybe, let's say, the Rotary Club of Hutchinson, and they want to put it on. We'll go out there, we'll host it with them for a year or two, and then they're on their own.
Seems that we're living through a time where there are a lot of ethical challenges facing not only students but people in the business world, in our personal lives, in other venues, and so it's important, especially for young people, to get a good foundation in ethical values and the right way to do things, the right way to conduct business, the right way to try to lead your life in an ethical way and having some values, right? So that underlies the reason that the Rotary Club is doing this.
Yes, we do it for that reason, and maybe it's a great program. It's very well received, and sometimes it's hard to get volunteers to do things. It's never hard to get Rotarians. We have table leaders, so we have a Rotarian at every table, and then we have other people volunteer. We sell that out. I mean, we don't really have to ask 2 or 3 times for volunteers. People love to do it, and you hear all the bad things that kids do these days, but you go to that and you see the really good things that kids are doing, and it's really cool.
That's an important.
It's just really fun to see the thoughtfulness that they can have. And
to encourage that. That's an important thing for us to see.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We can't just punish kids when they do bad things.
Right.
We have to encourage them when they do good things.
Absolutely.
It's always very highly reviewed by the kids.
Right.
We do
And didn't you tell me too, Tammy, that there's a particular teacher at Eagan High School who has really taken this initiative and run with it there?
That's a different program. There is.
I'm sorry, I'm confusing.
Well, there's a program that we sponsor that we help start at Eagan High School called Interact, and it's really Rotary for high school aged kids. And there is a man named Bill Wierzbinski, who is a math teacher at Eagan High School.
Still teaching there?
He's retiring this year.
Oh, okay.
He's retiring this year, and there's some new folks taking over, and I guess Bill's going to help again with this program next year. So. But he's gotten that up and running. I think they've got about 150 kids that participate.
That's
Just
great.
this last Wednesday, we had a program with the Interact kids where we had dinner, and then we worked with another organization. Last year, one of our Live to Give recipients was the Drawer, and the Drawer does socks and underwear for homeless people and other folks that are in need. And so this Wednesday, we spent a couple of hours rolling up underwear and packaged them for folks with the kids. And it's just fun. You sit with the kids, and the number of things that they're into and the number of activities that they're into is just really impressive.
That's really
impressive bunch of kids.
We have reason to be encouraged that we have
do.
young people in our community.
If you watch the
involved
news,
in
we can
this.
find plenty of reasons to be discouraged.
Right.
But I sat at my table, a young man. We got talking with him, and he moved here from India last summer, and you would have never known. I mean, he had wonderful English and was a wonderful communicator and was already involved in volunteer activities, and he hasn't even been here a year.
Great story.
Yeah. Good kid.
So Each year, Eagan Rotary recognizes exceptional people in our community. You talked a little about this earlier, teachers, public safety professionals, veterans, and others who make outstanding contributions to our community. How do you learn about these people before you recognize them and award them, if you will? How do you learn, how did they come to your attention, to the club's attention?
Well, you know, the interest, there's a lot, there's everybody in Eagan knows somebody, and everybody, I don't know, we just kind of all work together.
So it's not just members identifying these people, they can be non-members of the Rotary Club who submit names to you
Absolutely,
for consideration?
Particularly for the Veterans Program, we're always looking for veterans to recognize for their service.
Sadly, time is taking its toll, and a lot of our World War II veterans and Korean War veterans are leaving us now.
Right.
Significant numbers, there aren't too many left.
There aren't too many left.
You've had some of them that have been
We've recognized some of them, and then in this last year we've opened it up to members inviting just friends and family and people down the street that are veterans, and we hope to continue that this next year, where we make our program even larger. But typically we have 2 or 3 veterans that we recognize. They get up and speak about their service, and then there might be anywhere from 100 to 125, 30 people in the audience.
That's great.
Between Rotarians. We split that. There is a morning Eagan Club, morning Rotary Club, and that event they help us out with.
Right.
We work together on that. We work together on the teachers' recognition.
I'm very happy to hear that. I always say to people, I don't think we can ever do enough to recognize our veterans for what they've done for our country. And I know this from personal experience. When I worked at Sun Country, I had the privilege of working a couple of what are called honor flights.
Yes.
Where we took World War II, Korean, Vietnam veterans to Washington, D.C. to see the various memorials out there. And it was a tremendous experience. And what I really recall from that were the people who lined up and just applauded these veterans as they came on and off the airplane. Many of them were in wheelchairs or walking with canes, and obviously were of advanced age. But just to see the appreciation in the airport terminal when we got off in Washington, D.C.
That's a great program. I used to have a customer
really,
that organized.
Is that right?
Yeah,
the honor flights? Yeah.
I think he moved to Florida, but
right. Yeah.
What a great program. I would have loved to take my dad on that.
Yeah.
I don't think it exists anymore.
So let's talk just for our last few minutes here. We have about 4.5 minutes to go. I want to talk to you about the big picture of Rotary International. My understanding is the organization was founded in 1905, and the Eagan Club is one of 31,000, approximately 31,000 Rotary clubs all over the world in 165 countries. This was news to me because I always thought I always thought Rotary Club was just an American organization. I had no idea that its scope reached way beyond our borders. So what does the Rotary Club do internationally? What are some of the activities that you've been involved in internationally?
Well, of course, there's clubs like ours all over the world,
Right.
all over the globe, and they all range from 5, 6, 8 individuals up to 200 or 300 individuals, depending on the size of the city and that sort of thing. There is a foundation named after our founder, Paul Harris. He's the fellow that started this in 1905 in Chicago. And that Paul Harris Foundation is something that we run an annual fund. It's a charitable foundation. It's really one of the best in the world, and it's a kind of a little known secret. But we've partnered with some pretty big names in the charity world. And we've actually internationally worked with the World Health Organization and vaccinated more people against polio than anyone else. We've nearly eradicated that disease. It's tough. It's tough because it keeps.
Smallpox too, maybe.
Well, polio has been kind of our claim to fame.
Right.
We've vaccinated against that all over the world. We are, as a club, allowed to do international projects. We've done a few international projects in our club. One of the most recent ones is in Panama. In Panama, we have worked with some schools down there, and one of the things that's different about Rotary is we have to have feet on the ground. We have to find a Rotary Club in the town where we want to have a project, and oftentimes those clubs will propose something. We were putting chicken coops at schools so the kids had a source of protein. A certain percentage of those chickens.
Teaching them how to raise chickens, take care of them,
and the parents got involved.
Feed their families.
Well, we're feeding them hot lunches. So we were putting in kitchens and sometimes sanitation, refrigeration, and then the kids and the teachers were raising the chickens. They were butchering them for lunch, and a portion was sold off so that they'd have money to buy more chicks. I'm trying to remember how many schools. I think we put that in 5 or 6 schools, and we're trying to turn that into a global grant where we would put it in about 20 schools. That's been on hold since COVID, and we haven't been able to get feet again with that, but we're not giving up.
And you did some work in Haiti at one point too.
Well, I personally traveled to Haiti in 2008. At that time, we were building wells in Haiti, and that was a pretty cool project too. It was pretty cool to go down there, and things were in 2008 and 9 here. They were really kind of spiraling downward, and it does give you a little different perspective when maybe you're whining because you're driving a car that's a couple years old and has a rusty front end, but there's people down there that don't have enough food to eat.
Right, or access to, as we talked about earlier today, access to clean water, access to health care, access to a lot of things that many of us just sort of take for granted.
I know, it's amazing.
Yeah. Well, I think it makes us appreciate what we have here in our own country and how we live, but also the need for us to reach out to people in developing countries, and it certainly seems as if Rotary is definitely doing that too.
We certainly try.
Yeah.
We certainly try. I don't know if we'll ever run out of need, but I hope so.
Yeah.
I don't know if we'll ever run out of need, but we'll keep trying to.
But it's a good thing that organizations like Rotary are involved in this type of work. Really a wonderful thing.
It's fun to be involved in it. It's fun to be involved in the community.
Tami Phillippi, president of the Eagan Rotary Club and owner of Frame, Minnesota, right here in Eagan. Thank you for being our guest today on Access to Democracy and telling us more about the great work of the Rotary Club of Eagan and Rotary International. Thank you.
You bet, absolutely. Thanks for having me.